great to see you.
Well,
Yeah,
what's up with that height?
too.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Matt?
Look, I mean, I bet you I'm the same height as the person that drew that. I want to see how tall they're at. Everybody out here pretends like they're, you know, like reinforced. You know, reinforced is like the size of the screen in the studio. He's like enormous. I'm normal. I'm normal height.
I love they gave you the basement lighting as well. That's pretty
Yeah.
like, you're like very shadowed, you know what I mean? Not only do you not even come up to my armpit, but it looks like, you know, it's like one light source. It's very, very distant.
I wore my best button down today. It's only got 2 buttons. They look like I'm off a golf course. Maybe hit a casino on the way here.
Is that for me? Is that for my benefit?
Yeah.
I can't think of any other reason you would wear that.
Yeah, no, I wore it for you. I wanted to dress up for your appearance today.
Great. Yeah, thank you for giving me your Sunday best. And yeah, I think, look, big shout out to the artist. That is very flattering physique-wise. I've got to say, I'm probably not quite there yet. It's looking a little bit more like Danny, but yeah, big shout out to them. You guys look great, by the way, in the studio. I have to come and hang out with you sometime. You guys do an awesome job. But let's dive headfirst into this matchup, Matthew. It is, of course, a pleasure to be back. The Washington Justice and the Boston Uprising going head-to-head here. We've already highlighted one of my most anticipated head-to-heads. It's Alpha Yi and it's Decay. A story that goes all the way back to 2018. Kongdu Panthera, GC Busan Wave. But these teams played far more recently than that in the Pro-Am groups, Matt. A 2-0 for the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, but that was, it seems like ages ago at this point, right? Where... No, Decay
was
obviously
in fact not ages ago.
which it was not ages ago. Decay obviously going up against the Justice. You know, we were kind of talking before, like, oh, it's Decay revenge game. You kind of look through the league. He has a lot of revenge games at this point, playing on a bunch of different teams. Where the Justice, I don't know. I kind of like the Justice prediction. No, I believe it was Jake and Zoe who ended up making that. I have a feeling that this team could be like sneaky competitive, like one of the, you know, you look at like London Spitfire from last year as like an example, right, of a team that people maybe didn't expect to be super competitive at the highest level. It ended up being. I think this Justice team has that same type of vibe to me this year, where this is a match that they could definitely win if that's the case.
Well, once more, Pre has been given the keys to the kingdom over the Boston Uprising and has put together what we had determined to be a bit of a super team. Boston now face their first real challenge, I want to say, of the season. Of course, their opponents New York and London prior, maybe not putting them to the same test as the Justice may be able to. It'll be a Winston versus Diva setup, and already Birdring strikes Empty God out of the picture. What a way to start it.
Yeah, and I know FD God playing the Brig, right? You'd love to see him on Lucio, but this composition, you're not really going to need that at the moment, where you're going to have Echo on both sides, and Flora actually going for a Tracer instead of an Echo of his own. Instead of a Ashe of his own.
There's a pressure on Decay here. Those sticky bombs are going to claim him. Alpha Yi finding the perfect moment to strike there. No one capturing the point right now, as Smurf has been pretty darn hard to shift, and now a fair bit of pressure going Lee J. Gon's way, and Alpha Yi catches him on the way through. Focusing being deals with the Mercy, and it has to be Washington's time to shine now.
Yeah, you could be just way more aggressive if you're the Justice, right? You know, with that Winston in play, the Tracer as well. Decay actually swaps over to the Tracer, give them a little bit more pressure onto the back line, not really. They're just all on Birdring to be able to do it. Is that'll be the Justice in control of the point first here, Mitch, which is huge. You're going to have a nano boost coming up here shortly for Teru as Alpha Yi takes a few shots, gets quite low. You know, you could nano the Winston, you could even nano the Echo here. It looks like it's going to be Ben Best getting the benefits of it.
He's going hunting here. Birdring able to keep him at arm's length for the time being, but Ben Best wants to cut any points of ingress off for the Boston Uprising. Gets a sniff of Lee Jake on there, but decides maybe to circle back towards the point, but the work's being done for him here. Flora picks off Birdring. FD got again a casualty early on in this fight, but it didn't bother the Justice so much last time. Flora continuing to harry here, and Lee Jake cannot stand up. Smurf is at least able to respond here, but the Justice have Flora on the point, some healing from that high ground. I mean, Flora's in a weird spot, has to maintain line of sight to Teru here and may have to step away for a moment.
Yeah, he's just trying to contest, just keep this percentage as high as possible, keep it going, but going to end up falling. I actually really like what Ben Best did there, you know, gets the nano and kind of dives in, and you saw a little bit from his screen for like a quick second. He's actually able to kind of force Lee J. God and Twilight like all the way out, which didn't give them line of sight to the players on the point. Obviously, Lee J. God can't really do much healing on the Brig from there, really just kind of protecting the Ana, and they were able to get some kills, but the Justice not able to get enough, and Boston was able to flip the point.
Alpha Yi getting a lot done with that Mercy pocket crucially here, Matthew, as well. Birdring now trying to pressure Benbest away, but he's dancing the shield pretty effectively. Bionic Grenade on Birdring, and Alpha's able to burn him down as well. Benbest getting a ton of value yet again, and that Primal is definitely going to yield results. Lee Jae-gon goes careening off the edge down into the picturesque ocean. Nice sleep there from Twilight. Don't know how he found that. Benbest doesn't know either.
Oh, I mean, the Biotic Grenade, though, from Teru was massive up on the high ground, right? Birdring's got the benefits of that nano boost. You have two other players there trying to support him, and I believe all of them get hit with that Biotic Grenade, and Benbest is able to finish him off. And just like that, the Justice flip it back, Mitch, where Boston, they get up to 41%, but it didn't really seem like they had a great hold at all. It seemed like as soon as the Justice wanted to take it back, they did.
Alpha Yi may be considering his duplication target here. Some pressure from the Smurf, but he can't afford to continue to harass down. There's Echo, and in he goes. Alpha Yi's going to copy. What the heck? Throws in the dynamite there very quickly. It's a brief Ash copy. Obviously, no chance to build up that Bob. Rally for Lee Jae-gon over on the point now, and Bob is in residence. This will force the Justice to play off it for the time being.
Another big bio.
Hold the point. Smurfs found Florido. That's a Tracer out of the mix here, and it's 2 now for the All-Star main tank. Benbest falls. Decay now going to head to clean up. But the Uprising take their sweet time in flipping, and they're well behind.
Well, it got really dangerous there towards the end as well. I don't know if you caught it, but Birdring and Smurf, both really weak, and both got hit with a Biotic Grenade, but nobody there from the Justice was able to help finish them off. As just like this, it seemed like the Justice kind of coming right back in. It's a sleep dart here up on the high ground. Flora kind of battling both DPS here.
Doing pretty well. Translocator getting burnt. He knows what Birdring went. So does Alpha Yi. He actually catches him there with the sticky bombs. Great little turnaround with Smurf out of the picture. It's time for the Justice to strike. A lot of pressure now towards this D.Va, and that's Flora getting both supports down. First Twilight to the pulse, and a nice little cleanup on Lee Jae-gon. The stage is set now for the Justice to quickly move back into residence.
Yeah, it'll be Boston taking the lead here, right, in terms of percentage, but they're going to get wiped off the point, and it'll be the Justice getting it back. You're probably going to have a one-fight scenario here, really to determine this whole first point, as when Boston comes back in, it's going to be Smurf going over the Doomfist. You're going to have a Nano and probably going to get a duplicate here for Alpha Yi.
Terra wants to try and connect us with Benbest, most likely. In a pretty safe position, to be fair. Birdring can't really commit too heavily to this spot, and it's going to be Decay taken down already. Smurf doesn't last very long either. This Echo has been such a problem for the Uprising. Alpha Yi coming with the key kills at the start of these fights, make it 3, and he's looked like he's barely broken a sweat here on this first round. Boston tried to mirror this. In fact, Matt, they tried to play Echo with a Mercy Pocket against Alpha Yi and still lost out. They still switched off, and they get rolled by this comp.
And you would say that Boston's strength is the team here, coming into this match, and probably going into a lot of matches, right? It's just the individual skill of like all their players across the board, but doesn't actually even kind of pay off in this. It's actually, Alpha Yi and Flora are playing phenomenal. Here's going to be that Pulse Bomb, and then just finishing off Lee Jae-gon there at the end. But Washington, actually, the DPS, matching kind of the DPS of the Boston Uprising. And in terms of coordination and timing, they just look on a different level in the Uprising right now.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch, I think, between Flora and Alpha Yi has been really impressive, right? I want to think back to Birdring translocating straight away from Flora into Alpha Yi's line of sight. Very impressive little turnaround there for the Justice, rather. And it's starting with a distinct advantage. Now we have Junker Queen mirror here. It's going to be a Soldier 76 of Flora versus Birdring on the Ashe.
And something to watch here is both Lucio players, right? FD God and Lee Jae-gon, two of the more aggressive Lucio players, I would say, that we have in the league, probably just that are even playing Overwatch in general right now, where you see Lee Jae-gon there falls early, and that's kind of what you take when you have such an aggressive Lucio player like a Lee Jae-gon or an FD God. Is sometimes they're going to end up being that first pick, but a lot of the times they're going to end up setting up these fights in great shape for your team. But right there with Lee Jae-gon going down first, you have the Justice taking the point.
FD getting a ton of value in that first fight already, well and truly halfway towards that first sound barrier. Let's see how this played out here. Terra really leading the charge. Love that whip shot back on the Genji.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Wrong.
Look, it happens. He's back. They got the point. It's all good. Now FD God
gets already dead. FD God gets in his face again.
Well, I mean, it's this like when you have a Lucio player that's this aggressive, like I was just talking about, like it's so feast or famine. It feels like at times, like they're either the first one dead and it's painfully obvious that like it's an issue, or they're doing things like that, being able to just go to the high ground, challenge an Ashe, and get a first pick. It seems like there's no middle ground when you kind of have somebody as aggressive as FD God or even Lee Jae-gon.
FD got definitely keeping track of the Uprising here. They thought about going that left-hand side. Now they want to play out by the coast. This could be dangerous. FD God with a bird's eye view of the situation, enough to see Benbest tear Twilight a new one. And that sound barrier won't even be required here. It's Terror, of course, with the rally hells propelled him forward. He again serves himself up as a tasty appetizer, but still the Justice lead comfortably.
And what do you do if you're the Boston Uprising? I mean, you really have, like, and not only have you obviously not gotten the point or even contested it, but you really haven't gotten close. Like, they're kind of like forming and trying to get these pushes and, you know, maybe getting on the same page and deciding what to do. But they're not even really in a great position to do so. They send the Bob to the point here, and this will just kind of flip the point for them as the Justice seem okay with that, and they'll back up.
At least for the Uprising, they don't have to commit a sound barrier in order to take the point. In a, a battle of those match Lucio ultimates, it would be disastrous if they had to use that even to just play the game. So that's a bonus for them here. Alpha is close to a blade, and it looks like, yes, the Justice want to come forward, but Birdering finds a key headshot. It's going to be Flora out of the mix here, and Decay pulls that blade. The rest of the Justice now believing discretion, probably the better part of Valor. They're going to keep those key ultimates stowed away till a more opportune occasion.
So I don't love that for the Justice. You end up using your sound barrier there, where you're going to have the Rampage Jungle Queen, the Jungle Queen ultimate coming on in here in just a little bit here for Smurf, and you don't have a sound barrier on the other side of it. The bleed plus the anti is going to be, really impossible to heal through. So how do you handle this here if you're the Justice? I really don't know.
Early Rampage here for Smurf would be huge. There's not going to be a sound barrier to counteract the effects of that. A tactical visor here from Flora's got to get the biting grenade. Tries to throw down the healing, but it's no good. Twilight takes his head off with the kunai. Benbest able to respond though, and Alpha now goes for the blade later in the fight. This is going to be the cleanup right here. Look at it, Decay heading for the hills. He wants none of this smoke, but it's going to come to him anyway. Twilight getting picked off there is big, and the Justice somehow move back in a fight with their opponents have that sound barrier and the Rampage. They have neither.
Yeah, and the Uprising had like the sound barrier. They were in such a better position in terms of like ultimates going into that fight, and somehow they just kind of throw it. Now you have a rally coming in here for the Justice at the end. This is not looking good at all for Boston.
Terror with the rally here. Some of that over health being distributed. Alpha E just wants to pressure Smurf down as much as possible. He's starting to find himself more and more isolated from the rest of his team. Lijo gone again, the first casualty in this fight, happening all too often so far in this round, but Flora takes himself down, presumably via the splashback of a Helix rocket. Smurf gets the knife in, but Alpha E's there. Birdering is off the table, and now a lot of pressure coming Twilight's way. He'll need to try and get out of dodge quickly. Decay comes to the rescue.
And he will have Benbest falling here on the point, so it will get flipped. 70% now and counting here for the Boston Uprising. Pulse Bomb here coming up. Potentially could be big. I wonder if you're the Justice, if you consider, you're probably going to end up in a scenario where this is maybe like last fight or getting very close to it. Do you try and engage with your sound barrier? Try and run somebody down. You know that there's not going to be a support ultimate, a sustain one on the other side.
It's a decent option. You probably want to save it to counter, though, this ultimate from Smurf. That anti-heal could be devastating, but might be forced to go for it now with Decay finding the pulse bomb. Now he's starting to fire up. Teru falling not long after, and the Boston Uprising have put themselves back in the lead, and they take this round away. Very, very interesting how that transpired. They were well and truly behind, but a couple of awkward fights here. Despite the best efforts of Alpha Yi, the Justice are not able to prevail here.
Yeah, even though Boston wins that one, it's still not entirely clean. It's still a scenario where you felt like the Justice were in a perfect position to be able to take that. It's just they don't end up coming out on top in the end. This is where I think, though, the Boston Uprising can take advantage of Mitch. I think Smurf on Winston, when you're looking at Benbest, I think the Des put it perfectly. Like his Winston has been good, it has been serviceable, but we consider Smurf, in like all-time rankings, in terms of Winston play in Overwatch's history, where a point like this, a map like this with map one really on the line here, you expect his Winston to show up big.
Okay, Alpha Yi on the Tracer, so we finally get this Tracer versus Tracer between he and Decay. Something highlighted at the top of the match. Let's see what he can get done with it here. Like the Genji looks in the previous map, in keeping with that composition. It's time to start to stretch his legs a little bit more now. You see Smurf just keeping tabs on him there as well. The long range zaps across the map here. Biting grenade dousing Benbest, and he's hacked as well. There's no way he was going to get away with this. The Justice start on the back foot, to be sure. Recall there from Alpha Yi. He needs to get out. He'll pressure from the periphery, but that's it for now.
And it looked like the Justice, with the way they were kind of like positioning, and Ben Best just okay with being hacked there, that they wanted to play a little bit more defensive, right? Allow the Uprising to kind of come to them. But with that hack also came a massive biotic grenade from Twilight, and there's nothing they could do to keep the tank alive.
Twilight very good at circumventing Winston bubbles without a sleep saw. Biotic grenades, as it turns out. Ben Best, again, the first casualty here, so the Justice really lacked the ability to
Twilight,
make
though.
Secondary engage.
He does get
terrifying Lee J gone. There's definitely, yeah, there's something here for sure. Alpha is definitely a problem right now for Smurf. He needs to leave the point. So 30% elapsing, the Justice back in the hot seat.
Yeah, although you lose your Winston, right? The other team losing their Ana right at the start, the Lucio's not going to be able to provide enough healing, especially with the space of the point, right? To keep players alive. So you saw there Smurf just on the high ground get pestered, down with bullets from Alfie on Tracer, but was able to stay alive. They have to back out, and now the Justice take the point.
Okay, Decay going down here. Flora able to find that elimination. The pulse bomb from Decay not amounting to too much. Terry's going to be traded out here, and that EMP's effective. Smurf has to back away. Birdering gets picked off there by Ben Best. He doggedly pursues his foe there, and Alpha Gear getting a stick on Twilight. That is big. 35% and counting here. A little bit of pressure now again on Flora, who can translocate away, and Smurf is clinging to life, but it's enough to give him the point.
Yeah, the kill on the Ben Best there towards the end is pretty massive, right? Because he could have actually jumped back in and kind of juggled that point there with Flora. So without that other player there with Flora to be able to contest, you see he's still here on Sombra. There's nothing you could really do if the Justice were. They may have been able to get some more percentage out of that.
EMP on who is the question? It's unclear, really, who Birdering managed to connect with there, and that ultimate did not pan out the way the Uprising would have liked. And here comes Ben Best once more. See Smurf coming in with that primal rage, and Ben Best would love to get to the soft underbelly of the Uprising, but so far he's been prevented from doing so. DJ Gon's sound barrier, well employed. Smurf got to be hacked here, bubble thrown up, but he's going to be playing from behind it now. Boston Uprising remain in control. Smurf gets topped back up, and we're far from done here. Flora emerges from Ben Best's bubble there, and Ben specifically looking for his next target. He'll play conservatively for the high ground for now, and Decay gets run down.
Yeah, Decay trying to make a play to try and help Alfie, take out Alfie, the backline, but wasn't able to make it back there safely. And you were mentioning they still have some time. With the way this point is contested, I mean, you're going to get the 86% here. I was going to say that could have potentially been like last fight, right? You don't get that pick early. There's just so much dancing and back and forth that goes down here on Well that could have been it. But now with the Justice, they set themselves up, Mitch. You're going to get above 50%. Talk about how easy this point is to kind of stall out and rotate. And you have this EMP. Birdring's EMP didn't seem like it was that effective. We'll see if Flora can land a good one.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Just get rid of Twilight.
Yep, he and Ben Best just mulching Twilight there at the start of the fight. And Boston identifying that signal as a no-go for the time.
Yeah. Is it clear who the Justice want to get rid of on the Uprising? It seems like Ben Best just throws his body at Twilight whenever he sees him. Same with Alfie is. I'm gonna say they're setting up another play here. They kind of see Lee J gone up on the high ground. They know.
Not again.
Oh, Twilight's there as well. He gets hacked. Look at all the pressure they're putting on him.
Pressure down the All-Star. I can see why you want to go for that play, and now the Justice have pulled ahead in percentage. These hacks are being followed up expertly. Flora getting a ton of value here, and Alpha is never far behind him. Ben Best now gets to do what he does best, and that's rule the jungle. Smurf's forced away once more. We're at 97% and counting. The map hangs in the balance, and it's going to be Birdering to step up, try and make something happen. The overtime is all he can secure, and Smurfy is nanoed at the start of this. In fact, a few seconds before he touches, he's not in a position to make much use of it now, but at least he got to the point. Eyeing off Flora, a little bit of poke damage to start with here, and keep an eye on FD God's sound barrier. That may be a factor in this fight. EMP for Birdering. Does he let this one go? Flora's going to be forced away, and Birdering has the chance to decide how he uses this.
And the Justice have to have an idea that he has EMP. They saw it like ages ago. They know he's been there putting down some damage. They're just trying to contest. Maybe they're just trying to fade it out here. But the Justice, oh, it's going to be Flora taking out Decay first. Sound barrier as well.
The sound barrier came in from FD God at just the right time. How do they find Decay at the start of the fight? Flora must have set it up with a hack. And there it is. Alpha Yi chimes in for two more. Eventually brought down by Birdering, but that's got to hurt the Uprising. Ben Best now just playing cautiously around that primal range. He's got eyes for other targets as Decay saunters back to the point, looking awful sheepish. Smurf is low, Hack but able to jump away, clinging on here. A big biotic grenade as they try and retreat. Teru really hits him where it hurts there. 99 and counting, of course, and it's going to be Decay stepping up again. But Ben Best needs help though, in a big way. He jumps back to his own side. It's going to be Decay with a pulse bomb in his back pocket and looking for an ideal target. Sound barrier for the Uprising now. This is their chance to come forward. Decay still deliberating on this delivery target, and he fights the stick on another Tracer. Are you kidding me? What a huge turnaround. The Uprising have the point now, and they're far from done. They'll run Teru down, and they'll move into Residence now in a crucial final fight.
Yeah, it looks like there's one player on the point there for the Justice. Is just trying to keep this in overtime. It looks like FD got up on the high ground as Decay finally figures it out, tracks him down. There's no way the Justice flipped this.
It's not over. FD God, though, is a long way away. He's very staggered on respawn from the rest of his team. Alpha is able to avoid getting hacked for the time being, but Ben Best is going to be low. He needs to build up Primal. Clever to jump away when he did, but there needs to be a touch here. Ben Best has Primal. He has the ability to buy some time, and here he goes. Lee J gone. Has to run away here from this Winston. Ben Best taking a ton of damage right now, consistently being booped back. It's an EMP up for Bird Ring, though. Keep an eye on that. The Nano boost on towards Ben Best, though, as FD God falls almost as soon as he returns to the fight. It's going to be a swift step away from Twilight, avoiding Ben Best for the time being, and a pulse bomb will be just what the doctor ordered, but Decay gets it done the old-fashioned way. That was a knockdown, drag-out affair, and the Boston Uprising outlast the Justice.
Yeah, I feel like outlast is the perfect word to use there. That is one where the Justice, it looked like their focus, like, and you know, target prioritization was so much better than the Justice there throughout that, right? They were able to just pick off Twilight time and time again. But it's an individual skill from the Boston Uprising that comes through there at the end. So, man, Decay goes huge. You have a bunch of other players coming up with some clutch moments, as that is as close of a map one as you're going to get.
Yeah, this is the big step up that a lot of people are hoping to see from the Boston Uprising. The most quality of opposition they've faced so far is the Washington Justice, and we saw a real tug of war over this first map, displaying a lot of those individual moments here from players like Alpha Yi, Birdering, Decay, Smurf's been in there. Ben Best has looked excellent as well. I love just him backing away, making sure he can build the Primal towards the end of that first map and come back in. It's unfortunate the Justice lose FD God so early. Thanks, guys, for helping me ease into casting. Really appreciate that. You're a nice and slow and steady way to build us in. We'll be back with more after the break. It'll be Blizzard World here as the Uprising head into the break with a lead.
I'm fly and I'm flashy. It's the reason why the people always ask me, where you get that? Where you cop those? I've been fresh to death since a snot nose kid on the block with the illest sneakers. The girls all flock like they missile seekers. The party don't stop, got different features, exclusives, different colors, you can't get them either. I came here to stunt, that's what I go for. I don't buy a pair, I buy the whole store. A price tag's just a number to me, so I never miss a shot that I want and I see. Swish.
vibes at an absolute premium out there in Washington, D.C. at, of course, the Justice's watch party. Now,
I loved going to D.C. Do you remember when we went to D.C.?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Lit.
We were by the water.
It was great. Crowd was awesome as well. Fantastic city.
That was awesome.
Now, Matt, calling that last map scrappy would be underselling it. If
yeah.
Each battle fought with nothing but the most improvised of tools, 2x4s and the sharpest of wits. That was absolutely a mess. And we have a Boston Uprising win the map with more deaths than their opponents and less kills as a result there. So very, very close. A lot of deaths on the support lines though. Yeah. Both teams very effectively focusing the enemy healers down. We'll see if that carries through now to Blizzard World for Red.
It's like a fight where both fighters they're going off the crowd and just a slugfest, and after the round their coaches are just yelling at them about the game plan. They just threw it all out the window. Just an absolute just slugfest in map number 1. Just people throwing bodies at the point. We do have some subs here for map number 2. We've got Kalios coming in here for the Boston Uprising. In Mirror coming in here for the Justice. So you look at Blizzard World, right? Like, high ground, like, yeah, you're probably going to want to see, like, some D.Va in play, which the Uprising will be on defense. First, you see Kalios on that trusted D.Va pick.
Yeah, see a lot of teams, obviously, opt towards D.Va here on Blizzard World. Again, you kind of mentioned that verticality, but it's actually similar to the argument of sort of Tracer over Genji, right? With D.Va, you never have to full commit. You can use that mobility to get towards the enemy, but then you can always backtrack, you can get away. Winston, obviously, and Genji, similarly, have that real all-in commitment factor. So this gives both teams a little bit of flexibility here, presuming, of course, we see Mirror make the switch off of the Wrecking Ball. And curious to see what he comes out with here. Reinhardt would definitely be a curious one indeed.
The Mirror Reinhardt with Ben Best on the roster would, raise a lot of questions for me.
Sure.
Sure. Alfie, Sonic's Arrow, make sure there's nobody kind of like sit outside the door, maybe a Sombra or something. You see why Mirror's spinning, 360 shooting as well. They don't know that there's not a Sombra on the other side. So
FD God, not again! It happened again. What a nasty combo. Bionade and Dynamite. There's actually nothing you can do.
I feel like it's the same exact way that Ilios started. FD God dying on Brig to Birdring on the Ash. So nothing going on here.
I believe it's more like the cock crowing at sunrise for this Justice team. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily an ill omen. It's just something that happens.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, all 6 people out there got that one.
You miss me, buddy?
I mean, do you want an answer to that? I mean, somewhat. I've heard you had a long off season of Coco Melon and Cars, so I think at this point you actually probably miss me a little bit more.
I know all the backup characters from Cars, man. Yeah, you want to talk about Cal Weathers? Yeah, take a seat.
Is that the pickup truck?
No. He's the son of Strip Weathers, who's the king, right? He appears in Cars 3, I think, is the next generation. But we'll get back to that one. Fantastic franchise.
What films? Yeah, I mean, oh, there goes Alfie. So
Decay, by the way, I mean, we were talking about this before the game, right? 4th Overwatch League team for this guy. Really has spent a long time searching for the place that he can really call home.
I mean, this is the best talent he's been around, you'd say, right? I mean, I think that's probably fair to say.
I mean, you've had this guy on pretty insane teams. Like some of the talent around him, like Pre got to build a pretty sick roster on the Justice as well.
That's true.
Yeah, we're talking about Mag. We had some very good teammates, but this seems to be where he's most comfortable, Matt, and it shows.
He's got a pulse bomb. You have Twilight with a nano, but we're gonna pause here for a quick second. This is actually the Justice. Something on their side of things. Mirror's got his headset off, so potentially. Just trying to talk to teammates here, figure out what's going on. Maybe it's like somebody spilled water on their keyboard. It is a keyboard issue. We don't know whether it's, liquid, whether it's cabling.
Solid, whether it's of a crumb variety that can really get in the way of
But what would a player be doing during the game that would have, like, crumbs inside of the keyboard? Yeah.
I mean, maybe they were just there and got knocked into place, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
You act like the play an owl is so casual that they can just have a bag of chips to the side, like in between desks. Like...
I'm sorry, but I saw XQC in the Dallas field back in 2018, and all bets were off, mate. You can do whatever you want.
And times were different, I would say. Alvia gets a nano up to the high ground. So that's actually just like trying to buy some space here, I think, for the Justice. Like, you see, you can control this a little bit more. Maybe now you can actually get a dive going.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on here for Alpha. He has to dash into the high ground and is actually going to be pursued. Back to Snacks Ramus with you while Decay tears your team to shreds. So far, the Uprising looking awful comfortable here to get those darn crumbs. You know what I mean?
This has been very not good for the Justice so far.
I mean, there's obviously some issues, and it's definitely affecting their ability to pressure the point. Now, I mean...
Okay, so I would say it's Alpha Yi. Since he's removing his entire keyboard here, I would say it's him. Yeah, getting a little swap. It's like NASCAR, right? You know, you get like a little swap of the tires, right? Hit a little pit stop here in Blizzard World.
Too many crumbs in the backseat of that NASCAR can get in the way. Don't want to deal with that. Alpha LC making the switch here. And listen, the Washington Justice are a professional organization. They probably have a veritable tower of keyboards just waiting to be caressed by Alpha Yi's dexterous touch.
You could tell it was Alpha Yi as well, because when we were on board with him on Genji, he just stopped moving in the room with everybody else.
It was like, you know, he was throwing a couple of shurikens, but it reminded me more of Brenji circa 2019. The Alpha Yi I'm used to, so...
I don't know if we need a illustration of, you know, standing motionless inside of Nax Ramus on Genji with the opposing team. There's probably not the best route to go, but yeah.
With 60 HP, which is 60 more than he needs, so...
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's a way to put it.
It was a weird sequence of play because, you know, Alpha Yi did get nanoed without Blade, to be true, but really didn't do too much but pop up and down and throw some shurikens here. So this is the game with 90 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, this has been pretty chalked here for the Justices. Okay, well, Mirror comes back from the pauses. You know, Baby Diva not allowed to go reset. So, like, what is the Justice like path of victory here, right? Is it a EMP, see Flora lurking on the backside there, an EMP up to the high ground that they can maybe dive on the Twilight, capitalize? You do have Rally in play here, you know, for the Uprising, so maybe you could actually live through that. You see Legion Gun just swinging right around Twilight, right? Just trying to see if there's, you know, a Sombra anywhere in sight. They're kind of prepared for this, but if this is really kind of probably the Justice's best chance to make something happen. EMP to the high ground, full dive, get a support and, you know, maybe two, or you get a support or bird ring, and then you can kind of make something out of it.
Oh my!
Support and bird ring, just like I talked about.
That is brutal. Nicely done there. Good way to start that one off, and the Justice get what they came for now. Apparently, having 5 sets of functioning peripherals gives you the edge you need to keep this map going.
And honestly, you lose that fight for Boston, right? That is really difficult to defend, just flat out. The EMP is fantastic from Flora. Hits like just almost everybody. And then you have Alpha Yi right there and the Diva. There's not really anything that Boston can do where, like, even though you lose point A and now the payload will start to get moving, I still feel like that's a fantastic first point defense there from Boston considering the circumstances.
Alpha Yi with the Blade starts this one off quickly, and the timing on the deflect is just perfect. Twilight not getting away with it this time. Decay trying to retreat, but whips around and takes care of Alpha Yi. Still, the Justice now starting to pave the way forward here. They were down to about 90 seconds on the clock. They've been able to make much of that time up. Still only 2 minutes left to work their way through this treacherous part of the map. There's a lot of work to be done, and they're walking into a rally in self-destruct.
Yeah, do you get aggressive with this rally? Are you trying to play a little bit more defensive here? If you're the Uprising, see on the high ground going for some guys. Again, they have to use their own biotic grenade here. They've got to provide some extra healing to Bird Ring and Crow. Stay alive. That'll be the rally here. So it's going to be Legion Gun using it up on the high ground here. Alpha Yi just going all over the place trying to make a play.
Classy though from Bird Ring there. Big difference maker as Terror is going to get picked up by Caligos. Bird Ring, not far that he can really go here, but plenty of healing available from that low ground. Having a coach gun his assailant away, and FD God is picked up here. Chance for Boston to solidify. Very quickly, I want to talk about the lack of Sombra here for the Uprising. It feels like there's less pressure on Mirror then, because we constantly see Caligos getting hacked time and time again by Flora.
Yeah, I think it's just, if you're the Boston Uprising, you're obviously having the supports kind of play around Bird Ring up on the high ground. You need a little bit more kill pressure than, like, just the Sombra, I think. You know, Sombra's obviously very good at setting up plays for the team, right? But if you're going to be long range, you don't really need that kind of setup where Decay can go into the backline, make plays like that, really win an entire fight on his own.
So there's the question now, is it you know, is that EMP again going to be the magical fix-all for the Washington Justice to allow them to keep moving through this map? Because again, the Uprising have been able to stave them off multiple times now on this last phase of the map, and we're down within 35 seconds in the round.
So yes, and I think the way that Boston can kind of play against it is like, do you want to play this close, right, and not allow them to set up for the perfect kind of you know, EMP type of play? Looks like they back up. They'll have Lee J on there up on that high ground. Flora has the EMP. He's going to get just 2.
Can't quite pressure down as much as we would have liked. The coach gun comes online just in time for Birdring. So this time, the EMP doesn't get the justice what they were looking for at all. Kalios is being pressured though, but Bob's deployed. He's headed over to the cart and he's eating up a lot of that defense matrix that Mira would rather use elsewhere. Rally from FD God. We're going to the IMAX theater, ladies and gentlemen, but Birdring has a nasty little off angle to work with here. Decay's getting close to a pulse bomb too. Kalios able to remech. These are all strong signs for the Uprising, but a nano boost is online. It's being deployed and Alpha Yi's going for it. Again, Matt, without a blade, he needs to make something happen here, but he gets taken down by Lee Jake on the rally. Got to inoculate the Uprising from that Dragon Blade pressure, and now Decay's being undetected here, just pressuring FD God down. It's Lee J gone yet again, and the Uprising, a stalwart on defense.
Lee J God becomes a raid boss. He actually has the rally going with the effects of a nano there, so just able to take out Alfie and then just everybody else on the payload. Makes Brig almost impossible to take down. So really good holds there from the Boston Uprising. They give up point A, but no, it's against a play that is like almost impossible to defend in the scenario that they're in, right? So you give up point A, you pretty much are just, you know, clean and dominant there once they kind of get the payload moving. Clear path to victory here for the Uprising. I do wonder, do you play a Sombra of your own on offense for Boston? I think that's probably something you consider here.
I mean, it was two very different EMPs from Flora. One was proximate enough to mirror and the rest of the dive core for the Justice. They just smashed the Uprising. That second time though, it felt like Flora lets off the EMP and then it's just him trying to work down like an Ash and a Brig. And
I don't hate it though.
Underway.
I really don't. This is Decay's a 2K with a pulse bomb. Ooh, that kind of sucks. But there's really honestly, like, for Flora there, right, you have to, you know, looking at the clock, right, and kind of where you are, you need to start to get the payload moving. The EMP didn't result in kills, right, but it forced Birdring and Twilight to fall back, and that allowed his teammates to like go up and try and take advantage of, you know, maybe getting at, because right after he got the EMP, he actually hacked Kalios and then was trying to like pressure Kalios down because he was just in the cart, but then the Bob came in and on an off angle and became very difficult to deal with.
So now we're starting to see a preference emerge for the Uprising. They still don't go for the Sombra, even though Birdring has been known to pilot that particular hero. So a lot really depends on Birdring getting this kind of vantage point to get the most out of this Ashe. Nice little dynamite over the top there. Some heal pressure on the back line. Never goes astray, but this is always the issue. The dive pressure from Alpha Yi and Mira, forcing Birdring away. He'll just rotate around.
And I don't hate this from the Uprising. We know how good Decay is on Tracer. He can, you know, put so much pressure on the opposing team. And those dynamites are fantastic to just put up to the high ground and just put consistent damage, force players back. And it's going to be Birdring taking out Alfie really early on, where we'll see if they even get a contest here.
Okay, forced a recall there. The Justice getting forced right on back here. The Uprising don't need the Sombra to make it work. And this is bad for the Justice now. They're going to get staggered up and give the Boston Uprising a little bit of that early lead heading into the second phase of the map. And Decay in a position where he doesn't have to be the carry. Birdring really being facilitated here to play slow, set up with the Ashe and find a key first pick on Alpha of all people. That's when the floodgates open.
And once you get that first pick off and then Birdring has just clear like line of sight of the point, it becomes very costly in terms of just HP to make your way back on to contest, right? You have Decay pressuring you from one side as you're going to lose Flora here. Decay pressuring you, pestering damage from one side. Birdring just, you know, free firing on the Ashe from range. Dynamite there as well. They don't even need any ultimates to make it happen. And look at this. Box of victory in sight. You're going to have 5 ultimates here for the Uprising. They're looking fantastic here on Blizzard World.
Need a big moment here from Alpha Yi. Maybe a nano boost in the right spot. Flora with an EMP. That's a good one, and Alpha Yi is there to follow up. That's 2 for him now. Birdring and Twilight both down. This one might be tough for the Uprising to make something happen with here. That pulse bomb will stay stashed in the pockets.
You're just going to need something to go incredibly kind of like wrong for the Uprising and the Justice to capitalize, because The Justice where the payload is, you're forced to kind of throw ultimates at this to stop it, where the Uprising, I mean, look at that. They just end up using their Bob. They come back, you know, double support ultimate, self-destruct to clear it out, right? Somebody's going to have to contest.
There has to be like a systematic issue for the Justice.
Yes. Yeah, there has to be some type of, you know, issue here for the Uprising in terms of, you know, the way they play this, and the Justice have to be, they have to recognize that and obviously take advantage of it.
Kalios briefly heads to the high ground or applies some pressure here. Mirror playing from the low. It's going to be the rallying in play. Teru, Sleep Dart not connecting. No, he saves it. Kalios here gets afflicted by it. He'll be up on his feet in no time, but the Uprising now need to make it happen with the rest of their team. It's Lee J-Gon again being promoted to raid boss. Mirror going to be knocked back with that flame, hit with a bionic grenade, but is none too bothered for the time being. It's the loss of FT God, though, that might really hurt the Justice. Now that healing starting to lack. Mirror going to be removed for the picture, and this will be the Boston Uprising getting over the line pretty darn comfortably. No Sombra required. Birdring looking imperious on that Ashe, and Decay, as per usual, putting in a huge effort.
No, I think you really start to see the individual skill of the players on the Boston Uprising come through in moments like that. And I really like the brief moments where they've actually, you know, kind of comboed the rally with that nano, as it becomes Lee J God, like he's impossible to kind of get off the point in those type of scenarios. He becomes so strong. So we take a look at the highlights. I thought this dive was fantastic from the Justice, and really so well executed that there's really almost no defense here from the Uprising. I think if you're looking at an example of how to attack that high ground, that first, you know, dive there from, well, the first dive that worked there from the Justice is the one to look at.
You have these peaks, right, where with an EMP, it's basically deterministic whether or not you win the fight. It's, you know, it's set in stone. But the Ashe really gives you that consistency over the course of the map, and that's what I feel like we were getting from Birdring. And that second EMP Flora went for, the one that sort of came towards the end of that attacking side, it didn't really get followed up on. He was knocked away, and the Justice weren't able to capitalize here. So the Uprising looking down the barrel of a 3-0 potentially against the plucky Justice. Stick around, because Junkertown is where that may well be decided. Two different tanks, two distinctly different approaches from the Washington Justice. The bad news is, for those keeping track at home, neither have been remotely effective here against the Boston Uprising, especially the latter. Boston really dig their heels in on Blizzard World map, delivering a very solid map win to put themselves on match point.
Is it odd to say, like, in a series where, you know, Boston could potentially sweep here, that I think, like, there's positives for both teams? Like, I think you kind of come out of this, like, feeling really great, like, if you're Boston, right? But I think the Justice also come out of it, like, hey, you know, map 1 went down to the wire. Map 2, we, you know, Alphys, you know, swapping out keyboards left and right, and all this other stuff happens, right? Like, I still think you'd feel pretty decent if you're the Justice. Like, I think you've actually put up a really good showing thus far, and you're competitive.
Tell me Alphys going to get swept, man, by Boston again in the year of our Lord, 2023?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, because Junkertown is up next. And I know you've been gone for a bit, Mitch, but if Boston were to win Junkertown, they take this series in a sweep.
There you go. Yeah, they will have won 3 maps.
Yeah, I know you forgot how it works. You've been gone a bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking more about how many laps are in a race, mate. It's just the way it goes. Junkertown's where it's going to go down, and again, opportunity for both teams again to show probably, you know, bits and pieces of what we've seen so far. Seen a few different compositions worked out here. Winston has featured, also, of course, a fair bit of Sigma. An opportunity again to see Birdering pick up some hit scan, continue to pressure down. His Ash was very, very solid. But I think the storyline that's developing here for the Boston Uprising is that Decay has not slowed down one bit, Matthew.
I mean, this has been kind of like Decay's career. Like, when he is on and playing well, he looks like he could be like a MVP of like the league, right? Like, that much individual talent. It's just, can you keep that going over an extended period of time? Remember, like, when he was on the Justice and like just tearing through the playoffs like for a little bit? It was so scary to see, I think, as the rest of the league. And like, he has these big like peak moments. It's just, can you kind of sustain that over the course of like a season? And what's crazy is like, you know, you need him to be good enough during the season to kind of get you to the playoffs. But like, really, like, you get to a playoff or a tournament format, and like Decay, all you need is like 4 good games from Decay. Like, you got a shot, right? I mean, you have a realistic scenario to win something like that. So Boston Uprising have a fantastic roster, like we thought on paper, showing up today, where now they keep Kalios in. He'll be playing the Sigma, and Birdring on the Widow here, which should be a fun sight to see.
Nice to see Birdring throw it back every now and then. Flora, again, very much the upstart in this particular comparison, but someone who was heralded to be a bit of a hit scan prodigy. Now, whether that is really eventuated or not is probably up to your interpretation, but Flora definitely needs to step up relative to the rest of this series to give the Justice a fighting chance. Some great damage on Kalio is already going to create a bit of space in and of itself.
Yeah, and Alpi was on the Sombra, and I was going to kind of ask, like, really the, you know, what your thought on the Sombra is. I actually like playing the Genji much better here. I think you can put some pressure on the Sigma. You can also put some pressure on the Widowmaker here. With the Genji, a little bit easier to access that high ground. And I think also you just need the kill potential, right? Like, how many times do we see games like this where, you know, it's Widow versus Widow, Sigma kind of stalls out into this like poke back and forth, and it just kind of drags on forever, where if you get somebody weak, you need to have that follow-up.
Hefty hit there on Mirror. Birdring delivers some nice damage here. Keep an eye on how Alpha plays, because he can't really commit without a guaranteed dash reset. In many cases, so he's going to have to play a little bit more safe. You can see him actually playing with his front line more than anything else. Once there's been enough sort of damage over time being dealt, he can start to jump in. Flora, though, dives head first into what appeared to be a pond of piranha.
Not the recommended Widowmaker location there, as it ends up really they're close to the opposing team, as that'll be a team kill there. Boston Uprising could have wiped the floor with the Justice at the start. The Justice do get some payload progress, though, so they should be able to kind of get back towards this bridge area and then get another fight going. And also not like an incredible amount of time burned off the clock. So not in panic mode yet for the Justice.
I think the concern now for Flora was the pressure from Decay. I think that's why he sort of went forward into the regenerative burst radius, most likely. Unfortunately, his team wasn't nearly as safe a place to be as he maybe thought. Gravitic Flux here from Kalios, just Mirror affected right now. To get Creation going to be blocked out. Kalios going to get himself a little bit from that kinetic grasp here. Mirror knocked to the ground as he drops to the lower level here. It's going to be an Ant Matrix in play, and Flora gets the better of Birdring. Good start here for the Justice. Flora going to be pressured in a matter of mere moments here, but the Infrasight gives him the edge, gives him that early information, and that's going to be enough.
Nice. I mean, he's able to get both DPS there, which is huge for the Justice. I actually really like the way that Kallios ended up using his Gravitic Flux. Mira ended up actually having to use his Kinetic Grasp in the sky. That is not a great spot to be in when the other team has a blade rolling as Alpha Yi gets 4 here. They're almost going to chase down Decay as... Yeah, that'll be the Justice taking that first point. But I don't know if you noticed, when like Kallios actually lifted up Mirror, just tried to actually move like the Gravitic Flux in line with Birdring's like line of sight on the Widow, that he would have been able to headshot him in the air and do enough damage for him to hit the ground, die. That's why the Kinetic Grasp comes out for Mirror, like looking off to the side in the middle of the sky, which is a pretty nice play from both sides.
With their Matrix in play, though, that's still pretty tricky to make happen. And on that note, I think I just want to watch Alpha Yi pretty closely here, because the way he has to play against like Sigma Rock and of course an Immortality field, and you see all this stuff, like he can't be too aggressive. He has to get out of dodge there with that dash. Meanwhile, Decay can be more self-sufficient here.
That'll be a... Oh, that's going to be Mirror actually getting a Gravitic Flux and taking out Legic on there. Always like waiting to see what happens when players hit the ground on that. As you don't have an Immortality field, right? Like the Justice do, where they're running the Baptiste versus the Ana, so you don't have that Immortality field to just keep players alive when they hit the ground. So you end up losing Legion, you end up losing your Brig, you're going to end up giving some more payload progress here. So the Justice putting up a pretty good fight here at the start of Blizzard, at the start of Junkertown.
Birdring playing from the high ground here. Again, probably wanting to just put pressure on Teru. You can see Shield Bash there from Teru. He went down to about half, acquiring FD God to give him a little bit of attention here. Gravitic Flux coming out. The hack on FD God. Okay, wouldn't be able to use the drone for that moment, but he's able to throw up a window for himself to start to pressure down. Birdring, that constant pressure on Teru, actually ends up backfiring as he gets picked up by the Justice's Brig. Mirror's here with a Biotic Grenade here, but doesn't seem to be too bothered. And why would you be now? You're very close to the checkpoint. Kallios has to get Nano to try and keep him alive, but there is so much damage, plus the threat of the hack here. Mirror doing an admirable job here, trying to pressure Kallios down. Teru with the rally in play as well, and eventually the Titan in the front line for the Uprising must fall. Yeah,
I think Teru's Brig play right there was fantastic, right? You know, the rally at the end, obviously, to kind of support everybody towards the end of the line, but really being able to protect FD God. FD God that gets hacked there, he's right there to be able to give a repair pack over to FD God, keep him alive, and then also gets the kill on a Birdring. So fantastic support play from Teru.
That allows, of course, that Ant Matrix to come out here. Much more backup for Miro as they just collapse on Kallios outside that checkpoint. Here's an EMP for Flora. Feast or famine, as they often are. Flora may be looking for a mid-air one to try and lock as many people up in it as possible. He wants an insta-kill probably on the Brig, though. Alpha Yi dashing there, looking to chase Decay. That is a recall being used here, but Teru's already down. Flora may have missed his window.
I feel like now we're just like, you know, we're spectating a spectator as, okay, now we're going to get a hack here on Kallios as they're not able to finish him off. I'm curious what your thoughts are, the Ana versus the Bap. I actually think the Baptiste is just like a way more impactful in compositions like this. I think Boston, you run it because you need a little bit more kind of like, you know, range healing. The Biotic Grenade also really effective, especially when you're kind of playing like those, you know, two flankers like going in. But you know, the Justice kind of playing the same, just playing a little bit slower, being able to use that Immortality field and really kind of just bunkering down around the Sigma, the Baptiste, and the Brig.
Meticulous as he is, Flora never has an opportunity in that fight to actually use the EMP. We saw him trying to set up. Birdring strikes first, and he's happy enough with the 1 kill as a result of it. Kallios hacked here. Gonna take a ton of damage from the Gravitic Flux, but Mirror can't quite connect the accretion now. 2 feet on the ground, but for how long is the question as a counter ult comes his way, care of Kallios. He'll command the high ground for now, and Alpha Yi's very low. If it wasn't Lee Jagon's whip shot, it would have been the Biotic Grenade that claimed Genji's life.
That's the EMP from Flora there, towards the end. You had already lost Alpha Yi at that point, or maybe kind of like, you know, in the process of that happening, which... no, you'd love to have that EMP back, as maybe it's going to be a change here for Flora, as now it's selecting Hanzo, where now Hanzo gives you a little bit more, obviously, kill pressure, shield pressure, but see if he actually stays on it.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably afford to play a little slower. I mean, I use a 4 with air quotes because there's a minute left in the round, so the Justice definitely need to make some forward motion at some point here. They know where Decay is by the looks of things, as those hyperspheres went nipping at his heels, and he's given his location away to Alpha Gear there. Would love to attract some attention, I think, but all of the Justice crowding together in the corridor. This could be a little bit nasty. FD God's going to have that Immortality field ready to go if that Pulse Bomb comes in, and yep, it did. Decay gets rid of that deployable. Mirror hacked on the high ground here, and Flora making sure he can keep eyes on Decay.
Yeah, now Lee Jae-gon gets the benefits of the Nano again here. They can't really get him in position to make a play. Okay, now he's going to rally and maybe try and make a play for the high ground. Now, Alfie uses the blade here. Yeah, you're not going to be able to push into that, right? Because the new Brig rally, right? You have the Shield Bash has that stun back again. It'll be and the Brig is so strong and sturdy where they're using the blade into that. Maybe you can get like a dash through there and make a big play, but highly unlikely. Birdring uses an EMP here towards the end while the clock just dwindling down, taking out Mirror, so doesn't want Mirror to come back, try and make a touch.
Yeah, again, the Justice never get a good EMP in this last phase of the map. It's a switch off to Hanzo that never really yields the results they were looking for. Decay continues to run roughshod over the Justice, who are eventually going to be brought to a screeching halt here on Junkertown. Another solid defensive effort from the Boston Uprising.
Not terrible, though.
That Alpha E moment was really interesting because he knew there'd be an accretion. Because he goes to blade down the stairs and then he wall climbs above the doorway. And he correctly predicts the accretion coming in. And then he goes out into a shield bash. So there's multiple forms of CC waiting for him there. It's just not where Alpha E wants to be. And it's a question of like whether you can get as much value as the Genji against Brig here.
You're like a coin flip at that scenario for your Alpha E, right? You're like, okay, everybody is like, we have what? At that point, like 25, 30 seconds left. I have the entire other team basically in this hallway in front of me. If they miss like the accretion or a bash and I go through, like, am I able to just kind of get a dash through, maybe swing one more time and you end up getting like 2 kills, right? You get 2 kills, maybe you get a reset there, kind of dash back up through the other side. So it's kind of like an all-in scenario there. And the Justice are kind of like in an all-in scenario there too. In terms of what they needed to do. So I don't really hate, you know, what are you going to do? Hold on to the blade, come back with 10 seconds left and get it off? I mean...
But I'd say the Justice didn't really look like at many points they had the opportunity to be proactive using some of those ultimates, right? Flora is like using a reactive EMP in a lost fight, doesn't get any value from it. Alfie with the blade there. Mirror a couple times is trying to line up Kalios, but the follow-up isn't really there. They can't pressure the Sigma down. He can't control the high ground. The Justice here, shake it off though now as they head on defense. And of course, a little Life Weaver platform to start us off here. Decay not putting use of it though.
Yeah, I think they meant to put Decay up on it and somebody else. Yeah. Everybody's like, everybody in the chat who plays like, or has a Life Weaver in ranked or plays it is screaming at that is the exact thing that they have. Yeah. See, Owl players are just like us.
Yep. Very attainable. Flora now playing from the water tower here. There's only the Sombra to bother him, so this is a pretty safe spot to be. Birdering, obviously, his damage fall-off has gotten much better for Sombra players, but still pretty hard to actually put pressure on Flora from that spot. He'll still have to translocate away.
What do you think about dropping the sniper here for Boston?
It really depends if Decay's able to follow up on these hack targets effectively here. I'd like to see like pressure on the Baptiste or Brig as much as possible, right? The former more likely. Hack him, put him in a position where he can't make use of that immortality field. But Flora wants to find some value here as well, and he's sort of now in a position where he'll have to flank to get it.
Yeah, I also think this for Boston like increases the pace of play, I think, across the board, right? Where you see how difficult it is for Flores, right? He's got to relocate it, 100 times, it feels like. The supports on the Justice have to, be conscious of obviously Flora getting pressured out, but then also pressure on the tank at the front. So I think it does create some issues for the Justice that maybe you feel like if you are the more mechanically skilled team, the team that can play at a little bit of a faster pace, this is the right move to do.
It's something that actually the Uprising showcased very effectively against their previous opponents so far in the season, Matt. This really fast pace of play, like really in your face, just sort of flatten you. Play faster than can be reacted to. The Justice here may be making some concessions to that style of play though, now switching over to Sombra of their own, but Birdring has the first EMP. Gonna let it go. Teru and Mira both caught by it, and they're both dispatched. Decay gets his hands dirty.
Also not a terrible strategy here if you're Boston, where, hey, we probably need to win 3 fights, total, maybe 4 to take the map. You have EMP for 3 of those. You feel like you're in a pretty good spot, and you're able to farm it up pretty quick where Birdray gets that EMP off. And now look at this, fantastic time. I mean, above 4 minutes here for the Uprising to take that second checkpoint.
And the Justice, interestingly, they give up the high ground. They group up together somewhat here. Kalios was hoping to find some form of connection with that Gravitic Flux, but it's not going to happen. This time, he'll go with a kinetic grasp here. It's going to be 2 Amp Matrices face-to-face by the looks of things. And the blade here from Decay, he just vaporized. Flora works him down through that amplifying window. Twilight now, to try and make sure Teru is no more either. Keeping Kalios up now going to be a key part of this fight. And the Uprising are going to prevail after a weird start as Decay gets blown to smithereens.
Yeah, at least it looks like it, because you have a bunch of players going down here for the Justice to try and fight this, but Twilight did a fantastic job with the Immortality field, keeping players up, and then also you don't exactly want to fight a Brig in that type of environment in close quarters where Twilight looked to maybe be hovering this in, but now going back and playing Ana here. So you'll also know in those close quarter scenarios, you're going to be able to get that big nano on the Brig that they've been doing a few times throughout the series where Justice, you have to come back here in EMP. I mean, this has to be a Flora EMP to kind of stop the bleeding.
There it is, Flora. This time, it's all about Kalios. Try and connect with him, but Twilight's going to keep him topped up from afar. Somehow, they've kept Kalios well and truly in this fight, and that Biotic Grenade could be pretty punishing. Eventually, the Justice are able to break down the wall. That was Kalios, but it's a trade at best. Teru falls, and that card's made some significant progress already through this phase of the map. Flora now can only harass from the sidelines as he hopes to build another EMP up. It's going to be a translocate out by Birdring, who's built his EMP himself. He's already from Lee Jae Gong, but he's under serious pressure now from that frontline mirror. And Ko going to try and roll over the top of him, but Decay's going to be here. That's an EMP. Catching Alpha Yi, no recall available, but the follow-up isn't quite there. Decay himself must have recalled away from the fight. Now Alpha Yi has his chance to shine.
Yeah, and Teru uses the rally here towards the end because it did start to look a little bit scary. As I really love the bait and switch that Decay and Birdring kind of do on the cart. You can kind of see it from the free cam here for a little bit, but Decay would get on in touch. If somebody comes down to kind of get there and contest, they have Birdring on the opposite side of that player to try and get a hack off. So you kind of have to choose, right? Do you just turn your back to Decay, or do you let the hack kind of go through? It becomes very difficult to deal with as Kalios trying to take some high ground presence here. The FD God using the Amp Matrix, but look at that, off to the side angle. No way to shoot through the Amp Matrix and focus down this Tracer, and Decay's able to take out 2.
Yeah, not only finding 2 kills, but also helping that cart move even further forward. That's 3 from Decay, and now back to the car we're headed. The Uprising had about 4 minutes headed into this part of the map here. So it does take them about 2.5, but it's by and large the most treacherous part of Junkertown to play through. They're still going to be happy with the time extension here after Alpha Yi is swatted aside.
So, man, just watching what Decay does like on a normal basis on DPS heroes is crazy, man. As Twilight will take out Flora here towards the end. They're going to go back to this on a Brig setup, but you have when you have players that are this good, where the Boston Uprising across the board, I think there's no question that they have one of the more talented teams. It's like whether they can kind of put it together or not, like over a long stretch of time. And I think today you're seeing them play fantastic against a Justice team that has been very good this season. I believe the Justice only had lost 1 map coming into this series. In Boston is really taking it to them.
Absolutely. Now the game plan is to ignore Kalios, but this man refuses to be overlooked. Catching Mirror inside that Gravitic Flux, and Twilight's more than happy to chime in with a little bit of damage now. No tank left for Washington and Flora. Again with that late EMP. It's just too long since they had an opportunity to really capitalize on it. Teru going to be forced back and away, and this will be the Washington Justice finally capitulating against an Uprising who just looked to be a little bit tighter. That's an EMP to end them all, so to speak, in a 3-0 clean for the Boston Uprising.
And I think the start of the series started off where the Justice actually looked really together. The coordination was great, and then I feel like as the series went on and Boston started to get rolling, they were the dominant team. They were the way more clean in terms of like their dives and what they wanted to do. They really kind of asserted that dominance later in the series.
Yeah, like you said, we got a really exciting first map. But I think as we started to get into our payload-based game types, we started to see Sombra prevail a little bit more. Obviously, Junkertown is a bit of a unique map that allows for that Sigma, that longer-range hit-scan play. But we eventually started to see Boston finally go, let's now, instead of Birdring playing that hit scan, let's fold back in that Sombra. Let's have some big EMPs, and they really did. You know, Flora, definitely question mark for me. How does he find value? Decay, though, found, wow, a ridiculous amount of it throughout the course of the series. Really consistently putting out his, I can't believe I'm still saying, it's 2023, still saying the same thing. This guy continues to improve.
I was singing that throughout the series, right? As obviously Decay, our player of the match today. But like, how many players we've seen have like a extremely good season on DPS, and then the next season, you know, not as good, and then, you know, even that they maybe not even get that third season in the league, right? Where Decay, you know, whether it's, you know, here on Boston, you know, his time on Dallas, Gladiators with Justice, like, he has just been so strong every step of the way, and every year just bringing it at a high level, which sometimes can be overlooked. No, it is not difficult to play in the Overwatch League, let alone be one of the better players in the league and do it over multiple seasons, which Decay has proven.
Yeah, the Tracer head-to-head coming into this game actually looked better for Alpha Year. It wasn't as flattering for Decay. But now we see after this match, he really had an incredible showing. Again, it's all good numbers, right? We're north of 10 final blows per 10, less than 2 deaths per 10. Very, very key values here. And Decay, a lot of the time, is just working from the periphery. He doesn't need to put himself in harm's way necessarily. And when he's playing alongside consistent damage output from Birdwing's Ash or Birdwing with that Sombra, he's then enabled to go in and actually really follow up on a lot of that pressure. Now we have our answer about the Boston Uprising, Matt. They're able to ease in. Now, their opponents are getting steadily tougher, but another clean 3-0 to send them forward for their 4th match. Stick around, everybody. We've got more Overwatch League coming back. After the break, we're going to hear from our desk. Well, how do they feel this one wound down?
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, Danny, we did it! Let's go! Boston Uprising!
If you just always get it wrong, I guess that's the reaction if you once get it right. So congrats, really happy for you.
I think we're tied. I think we're tied, actually.
This guy got right twice. I was using my brain for years. It's time to rely on my heart. No regrets.
Exactly. No regrets from my side either. Alpha Yi was trying his best.
Oh, yeah. Alpha Yi put on a show.
Flora also. You know, like
exactly.
Alpha Yi and Flora, I still have faith in that DPS line, but alas, it just wasn't their day today against the Boston Uprising.
DK was just better.
Also true.
We knew that. We knew that already.
Played incredibly well. I've got to give it to them. Those guys are monsters. Overall, the team looks solid. I think even having Twilight in, as I already mentioned, a very good Ana, not something you're really that worried about for Boston. But I wanted to believe, honestly. I wanted to believe.
But now you know.
I do not forgive. I do not forget.
It's same here. Moving forward, never going to forget.
But you know what? I will forgive. I will forgive Alpha Yi and Flora. Those guys, that was a monster performance. Especially the Genji,
you might be
making it work.
So you might be picking them again.
I could be convinced. I'm ready to believe in a long season. I think they did show some good stuff. I felt like they should have won Ilios. It was right in their hands, and they just let it slip away. A couple unfortunate mistakes.
It's okay.
It's all right.
It's just a project.
Yeah, you know what? All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm over it.
All right, we're over it.
It doesn't matter.
Well, not quite,
that feels
actually.
good.
Not quite. We're not quite over it because you just mentioned Ilios. It was on the fingertips. Like they were so close, but then it went into a actually never-ending OT fight. And somehow Boston edged it out. And Jonathan, you want to illustrate this for us?
Yeah, this was one of the sickest fights I think we've seen in Overwatch in quite some time because it almost like you thought that Washington Justice would close things out here on Ilios, but then Boston came back and then Washington almost came back again. So where are we? We're about to hit overtime here on the very final round of Ilios. And Boston Uprising, they're coming in from their spawn and they're going to control this space with Smurf getting the Nano. So as we start playing this out, we can see ourselves approaching the very final fight here on Ilios. Smurf gets the Nano. Now important here, even though Smurf has the Nano, he doesn't commit. Instead, the Boston Uprising, they establish themselves on the point. This is the space they control now, and now they prepare for a secondary dive. So we're going to take a few pauses throughout this fight, but for now we're playing this one out, and we see this little micro duel happening between the two Sombras. Birdring with the EMP is going to be crucial when Boston Uprising are engaging here. This is what they waited for. Here comes the EMP engaged. Now, if we slow things down here, we actually think that he's going to pull the EMP onto the Sombra, onto Flora here, but Washington Justice do a great job escaping it. Now, crucially, he runs out of ammo. He just runs out of ammo. I mean, it's a feels bad, okay? It's a feels bad. So if only Birdring have saved some ammo, we can keep playing this clip. They would have closed out the tier with Ben Best. Instead, FD God drops the sound barrier. Now they use Tiro, utilizes the Nano boost onto Ben Best. But pause right here. This is a crucial moment here as well. Huge play right here from Twilight. Not only does he hit the sleep dart onto Ben Best, he hits the biotic grenade onto Alpha Yi. So Birdring is gonna come in here as we place things out. Just sneeze on him, and Alpha Yi is gone. That is crucial because there is no one now to clean up for Washington Justice on this point. Smurf is going to pop the Primal Rage, disturbed by time for the rest of his team, and he's going to drop real low. Another Bionade coming in from Tiro here is about to hit Smurf, and he has 1 HP, but he survives because pause! There's no tracer here because Alpha Yi got bionaded by Twilight. And so now you're seeing the likes of Ben Best trying to close this one out. He uses his leap right here to deal damage onto Decay on this tracer who is going to stall out the rest of the point. But because Ben Best misses this jump right here, DK is going to recall back over here, and Ben Best doesn't have a movement tool anymore, and so it just all collapses for the Boston Uprising. We can keep playing here. DK is going to do a fantastic job stalling out the point here. Ben Best can't do anything. He's forced to retreat back from the point. The Boston Uprising are back, and now they had bought enough time with Smurf, with DK, and they can turn this one around. DK comes in with the pulse bomb after Legion sound barrier, and it's just a horrible moment for the Washington Justice. So huge individual plays coming in from the Boston Uprising. Not only Twilight hitting the Bionade and the Sleep Dart to really set the Washington Justice back, but killing Alpha Yi twice actually here with DK's pulse bomb. That just made all the difference as well. So a huge turnaround from the Boston Uprising there, and one of the closest fights we've seen so far in the Overwatch League.
Bravo. Running out of ammo feels bad.
Yeah, that was tough.
That
we were
was
going
rough.
crazy when we were
It's like,
watching it.
No.
It was like, we're like, he's gonna die. It was like, oh no, he
It
ran out
really
of
was
ammo.
Twilight, though I have to say, I'm sorry, Ben Best, but if you just jumped up in the air and right-clicked, you would have killed Smurf in 1 minute.
Oh, if you just would have done that. Why didn't
Well,
you just do that?
But how does this team? He's 1 HP with nade. That's called out. You know, I think that is like kind of an error. You know, I gotta call it out where I see
No,
it.
that's
to be
good.
honest.
That's why we have you here. That's the takes we need.
It's those micro details, right? I mean, yeah, there are obviously lots of big plays on both sides, but slip-ups as well. That's why it's possible to come back. I mean, there's a moment there where Boston have like 2 players alive versus 4. I mean, I just don't think you should be coming back,
happen,
but it did.
Did indeed. Well, we do have now the beautiful opportunity to, of course, chat to the winners.
Yes.
So, Danny, please take it away.
Thank you, Zoe. And for the post-match today, we have an interview with Birdring. Birdring, hello. Birdring 선수 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Right, I mean, congratulations on getting the win. You guys are now up 3-0. Great start for the season. You know, the past 2 games, you guys were up against London and New York, teams that are currently really not considered as a top team. So would you say that this matchup against the Washington Justice was sort of a good test of strength for Boston? 자, 첫 번째 질문을 일단 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 전에 2 경기, 런던과 뉴욕과의 경기에서 승리를 하시면서 솔직히 말해서 그 2 팀이 좀 이제 상위권의 팀이라고 보긴 좀 어려운 것 같아요. 지금 현 상황에서는. 버드린 선수가 보셨을 때 오늘 워싱턴과의 경기가 좀 보스턴의 실력을 좀 제대로 보여주는 경기였다고 좀 생각을 하시나요?
사실 워싱턴도 아직 강팀이라고 생각하지 않기 때문에 사실 그것까지는 잘 모르겠고 1세트 때 제가 좀 많이 말려가지고 팀원들이 고생 좀 많이 해줬는데 그거 아니었으면 좀 엄청 쉽게 빠르게 이겼을 것 같은데 아쉽네요.
I mean, to be honest, I personally don't really think the Washington Justice isn't a top tier team as well. They're not that strong. I do feel like, you know, in map 1, I was struggling a bit, and because of that, our teammates were struggling as well. You know, if I played a lot cleaner, I think we would have had a more decisive win against the Washington Justice today. Now, I mean, you said that Washington Justice then isn't a strong team. Then who would you consider a team that's very strong and a team that Boston sort of really has to be to sort of prove yourself? 자, 두 번째 질문은 방금 워싱턴 팀이 별로 그렇게 센 팀이 아니다라고 말씀하셨는데 그러면은 좀 지금 오버워치 리그 서부 팀 중에서 이 팀을 이기면 정말 우리의 실력을 제대로 보여줄 수 있다라는 좀 팀이 있을까요?
일단 개인적으로 지금 잘한다고 생각하는 팀은 애틀란타랑 메이엠 이 2 팀이 좀 잘한다고 생각해서 이 뒷등가의 경기 저희가 어떻게 풀어가냐에 따라서 좀 저희의 그게 보이지 않을까.
I do think that, you know, there's 2 teams that I want to point out. Of course, it is going to be the Atlanta Reign and the Florida Mayhem. I think, you know, by beating either of those 2 teams will definitely prove how strong we are. And it really depends on how we play against them, how we strategize against these 2 strong teams to get the win against them. All right, Birdring, thank you so much for your time again. Big congratulations on the win. 자, 승리 다시 축하드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
바이바이.
Bye-bye, Birdring. Always great to hear from the man himself. Danny, thank you so much for getting us all the insight. There you have it. Washington, not that strong a team. The real test will be the Florida Mayhem or the Atlanta Reign. How do you think the Boston Uprising, in the current shape, would fare against either of those 2 teams?
To be honest, that game was pretty convincing. You know, I think I was blinded for my love for the Justice DPS players who looked insanely good. But the overall strength of roster, Twilight coming in as an unexpected sub, still looked incredibly strong. So it's just showing how valuable that depth of roster is. Smurf able to play the Winston for most of the series. I think that's a huge point of strength for Boston in this meta. So, you know, I think they did. This was a litmus test for them. One I thought maybe they wouldn't be able to pass, but they did, and they did it with flying colors.
Absolutely. They looked good. And speaking of things that do look good, I do want to once again shout out Calling All Heroes. Our phenomenal program is making a return, and you can get all the information on that program, the Challenger Series, the Speaker Series. You just visit our website, callingallheroes.gg. There you can find out how to register for the upcoming tournament, the Challenger 1, that will be running from May 20th to May 21st. The registration is actually open right now, so just head on over there and find out how you too can participate. So I hope to see some of our viewers in the mix there as well. Now, we do have another banger coming our way. I hope this one goes to distance. We do want to talk about it a little bit more in depth.
I told you jinxed it earlier.
It's a certified
You
banger.
jinxed the earlier matchup. I told you.
It's a certified banger.
Did I just jinx it again?
No, I'm
By
telling
saying
you,
it?
don't jinx this one.
Okay, now I'm going to be very low-key about it.
It's going to be one-sided.
Here is a...
Okay, which side?
It's a very mid-game coming your way now. I can't wait to see them doing absolute standard things.
Yeah, look at these
with those
guys.
standard rosters, you know, like no one really standing out there. It's gonna be...
That someone
Someone stands out.
Someone does stand out. Yeah, I think if we're looking at the Mayhem and the Gladiators, I definitely going to have my eyes on the tank and the flexibility of those tanks because that's really going to be the interesting point here.
Well, Zoe, I'm so glad you mentioned the tanks. This was not set up. We don't plan anything, but
Nah.
by chance we accidentally